there's tools here, so I can tell you the emphasis is on this. I don't know what that is. All right, now I'm stuck in using this tool. All right, we're back to the cursor. Thank goodness. Okay, so here's the goal of what we're gonna do, and then that way this is recorded. Let's see later. I'm gonna go to GitHub. I'm going to create a new repository. I don't know why I went about it going this way. It's really slow. I'm going to put this on my own. I said it was what? We got Cards app. Okay. So I'm going to make Cards app. It's going to be public, please. Don't put any files in it initially. Save yourself some headaches down the road. All right. Now, again, you can do this in GitHub Desktop. I can't show that part, so I apologize. But I'm going to put this on my file system where I place my files. PWD is just a shortcut for, I don't know what, but it shows you the current working directory. I don't know why it has a P in it. Print working directory. There we go. This is why we crowdsource this information. So I'm going to do a git clone of Cards app. You appear to have cloned an empty repository. Yes, I did. Now, I'm not going to navigate into Cards app because I'm going to run npm init at open-wc. If it didn't look like I just typed there, if you have Oh My Zush installed, as you start to type, you can push up and it'll go back through your history forever to see what you've typed that auto-completes. So I'm going to scaffold a new project. We're going to do application because of the issues that we ran into recently where we have to. Do not pick linting, but I'm going to pick testing, demoing, building by hitting spacebar. No, I don't want TypeScript. And I'm going to name my app shell the same thing as that GitHub repo. This is a huge deal as far as simplifying and making your life easy. A quarter of the errors I've seen are in mistyping this phrase right here. So naming it is critical. So cards-app. Do you want to write these files to disk? Yes. And the reason that's critical is it's now written the files into the empty Git repo. I didn't go into the Git repo and run this command because it's going to make a folder. But what just happened is it already saw an empty folder and it writes the files into that. No, I don't want to install dependencies right now. Now it says, hey, go cd cards app. Okay. On branch main, we can do git status. See, there's a whole bunch of files. LL, which is my shortcut for ls-las. We've got some files in there. So now I can do npm install. It's going to do its magic. I am going to cheat a little bit because I have multiple things published to npm. So imagine this, I had already published npm. I'm not going to show you publishing something to npm. It's literally typing the command npm publish, and then it'll say like, hey, you have to go log in, and then you go log in and you make an account. I'm not going to show that right now. So I'm going to sign in to npmjs.com. I've got this weird blinking badgery thing. I don't know what that's about. I've got to get a 1Password. I'm not going to recover that right now because we're not publishing to npm at the moment. So I am going to save something from npm. Once this finally installs, oh, I'm not on guest Wi-Fi. Just as like a fun flash poll, how many of you use PSU guest Wi-Fi because you can't figure out how to get on the Penn State network? Yeah, it's a shockingly high number of people. We actually had to reinvest in rebuilding that network because so many people just default to it. This is a fun fact. Okay, so I've got that installed. Now I'm going to install Meme Maker, and it shows a little thing that says, well, what the heck is Meme Maker? So let's look. So this is a common best practice. This tool is sort of on the way out. I'm not going to lie, but you will still run into this tool quite a bit. It's called Storybook. Storybook is a standard way for teams to contribute to a design library. So I have over here an accent card, the other thing I'm going to actually install in this so we can see the feedback loop twice. But you can see all of the elements in our team's portfolio through this. Some of them have nice, happy documentation like this. Some of them you have to go back to twice, and it hydrates and says the IST ice cream social. I don't know why that was the use case, but it was for a class a while ago. So you can see all these different elements. So I'm going to run npm install This part is critical, this dash dash save and the name of the element. Now, there's another way to obtain what that element is. If you're on npmjs.com and I would search for meme-maker, you'll see autocompletes, and I go, oh, there's the one I want. And now what npmjs.com is doing is it's keeping track of all of the published versions of the code. You need to have a version associated with it, even if it's like version 0.0.0, like just that there's something. And the reason for that is long-term security on the one hand, but also your library might change over time. You might use other people's code from here. So literally all it does is a big registry of version numbers and how those find and dedupe to other version numbers. There's not a lot of magic to npm.js. It's just a big old, hey, go download a ton of crap project. Also, MemeMaker must be catching on because 961 downloads. It's like a joke project. So quite literally a joke project. So, okay, it's got some little details. It's auto-generated docs. But the important thing is here. You see this little hey install. So you might copy that. But you'll notice this npm I, which is short for install. So it's npm install, the name of the tag. If I just install a tag, but I don't put this dash dash save on it, it's not going to write into my package.json file. So I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to paste in that command that it gave me because that's from the docs. Hey, do you want to use this? Here, install it this way. And what this is going to do is look at the existing node module. See that one really fast. Look at the existing node module structure, see what doesn't overlap, and go and download those dependencies. So we have them. So now if I open up VS Code, eventually, are you choking on me here? Yeah, I'm in performance mode. This is a gaming PC from 2019. This thing should be able to haul still. So I have cards app and I've got cards app here, right? With just the basic boilerplate. And I should go in. I'm going to open up package.json, which I could have clicked in the side, but I like to do things multiple ways. But by installing MemeMaker there, see, it's under my dependencies. I could go in here now knowing that I eventually want to get accent card, just so you see in case you don't have one of these. LRN web components / accent -card. And you get into hell with auto completion agents right there, is what I just saw. You might not run into that, hopefully. On the one hand, the Copilot thing wanted to autocomplete version 3. On the other hand, that's not actually the latest version. I don't know why it suggested that. So if you go to add some dependency of some kind, no matter what it is, and you just type 2 quotes, VS Code will go off and ask the NPM registry what the latest version is. That's where this little data snippet autocomplete is pulled from. Anyway. If you just edit package.json manually, I added a dependency. I don't actually have the code. I've just declared I care about this code at a later point in time. So I have to run npm install, which is going to look at the dependencies, find what's not in there that it needs for accent card, geez, I can't speak, and then install those dependencies. So imagine when you go to do this, you're going to have some reference to like my prof or something. It's going to come from the registry. It's going to be your element that you published to NPM, the thing you've been working on now. So I've got both of these dependencies installed. I'm going to go fire up npm run start, which I could have just typed npm start. And I get the little spinny OpenWC logo. So what I'm going to do from there is I have those things on-prem as far as they're installed in the node modules directory. They're in the package.json file, so I can reference them later, but I need to actually import that code. I got a happy-go-lucky autocomplete, but we generally import things this way. I don't know that it's not simple card. Yeah, sometimes you make weird judgment calls here. AI. I'm going to import accent card and import MemeMaker. So I asked someone this last class. I'll make sure that I say it for everyone. Does lit exist? Does anyone want to take a guess if lit exists? We haven't played the vanilla, not vanilla game in a long time. No, lit does not exist. Why do I write it that way? I know that we had this conversation. Yeah.
It's going to import it from like some other folder.
It's going to import it from some other folder. So I could import accent card from where it actually comes from. And in fact, if you hover over, you see that it says, oh, this is actually coming from node modules, LRN web components, da-da-da-da. You could, but you never want to reference things like this. .. / node modules, whatever. You don't want to reference things that way. Can you think of why, since we already had this conversation? Why would it be preferable to reference it this way instead of a direct reference to where the code actually is? What?
Because if you're sharing code with someone else, because you're going into a directory locally, right?
Yes, exactly. This happens to be where this code lives on my computer. We're trying to make things in this generalized way because someone else is hopefully consuming our work. That's exactly right. Their folder structure on their computer might differ from mine. So this is known as bare importing, that you're importing the project's general reference. Now, I could do this at this level. I could just lob that off as a personal preference. When I'm importing my own code, I do like to reference the actual JavaScript file, but not the directory structure as far as where it lives. So I hit save, and I should see nothing. All right, so I've kept track of it in package.json. I've installed it so the code is on my file system. I've referenced it, which if I made a bad reference here, just so we're perfectly clear, this just breaks entirely. Okay, so if that file doesn't exist, it's going to brick. So that we're perfectly clear that that can't happen. So I've made a reference. It's live interpreting this code as to where it actually lives. And now I want to actually go and add it to this silly spinning logo. So I'm gonna go back to the docs because I had a thing that said, here, copy and paste this. So my render method now, if I add 3 meme maker tags, I end up with I will bring you the death, which is what our default thing says when you use hacks and you click meme maker. Until, of course, central IT doesn't want us to make it say that anymore. All right, so I said by requirement, you have to have 2 cards. So one of them will be your card, right, like my prof or whatever. One of them will probably be meme maker, but it could be anything. Any other project in your pod is totally acceptable. So I've got one meme maker, and now I've made a card previously. It's called accent card. So I'm going to, that's a placeholder kit. I'm going to copy the reference for accent card. And then I'm going to go over, paste. And now I have an adorable kitten and a kitten that's about to murder a small toy. So now I've got 2 cards on the thing. They're completely reusable assets. I can go and rewrite the title of these. I can make it not be funny. I can make it not be about this cat. This is a reusable thing and brick that we can build and stack on top of. So then get status. It says, hey, there's all these changes. I'm going to add them. Git commit M. Most of you will do this through a GUI, but you're welcome to do it through the terminal, either standalone terminal or in VS Codes. Hit and pull up the terminal thing. Stuff to start. Git push origin. Oh, it's called main. Let's mess that one up. So my code is now up on GitHub under, I already have that open. Up under BTO Pro Cards app. I'll actually post this into the thing as well. So that is the whole end-to-end feedback loop beyond making this work on Vercel, which not everybody has everything working 100%, but we're pretty far along in that journey. So I'm happy on that part. So I'm going to go to Vercel. I'm going to do add new project. I have to change this to me because I have multiple accounts here. And then you should see, hey, in this case, cards app, like it was just made. So I'm going to import. And then, very important, open this up. Output directory is dist. And hit deploy. And then we see if it works. So what happens when you go to deploy with Vercel is it actually goes and it downloads it clones your repo, then it runs npm install, then it runs npm run build. And so as an easy feedback loop way of seeing if you have everything in place and installed correctly for it to work on Vercel, I should be able to run npm run build locally and the command go through. Now, when the command goes through, it's created a dist directory, which you'll notice it's not saying, there's not a little X here implying that I'm out of sync with version control. The reason for that is the git ignore file that's telling it not to. So some of you, when you're copying and pasting files around on a Mac, and I'll say this so that if you go back and watch this later, there is a command you can search for. How do I show invisible files on a Mac? Find an article. You can run a command in your terminal that allows you to see those invisible files all the time. Then when you go and select all, you're actually selecting all the files to copy. It's just a small thing. But what git ignore does is it says, if anything's in this folder, or if anything has this name, or dist, there's the one I was looking for, if anything is a built directory, don't put it in version control. This is how some of you have node modules directories that are up on GitHub, and then that corrupts Vercel's ability to finish building appropriately. Because you copy and move the files, which I totally get. Some of you I even told to do that. And then we had to reverse engineer where they actually go. But when Vercel actually builds your assets, air quotes, it is smashing everything into one file. It is figuring out and tracing all of the JavaScript used and smashing that into one file, removing all of the spaces, and then compiling it to work on any browser target, probably 2019 or newer. So this is what a build routine does. It normalizes our code and smashes it together in the most efficient way possible. Runs something called tree shaking, which eliminates all the code that isn't actually used in the execution of the application, so that it's super fast at the end, hopefully. So it claims that that worked. Let's go. And now I have that link at the end. So I would make a gist. I'd copy and paste this cards app 1 Vercel link into it, and I would copy and paste this link to my repo. And now I have finished the homework on film. So the goal is, I'm going to end recording there.